So yesterday we kind of touched on what fraction is, and we said fraction is basically cutting up a whole object, and we're only cutting it in equal parts, and we take it and look at the portions of it. That's a portion of the whole thing. So we will going to be using our calculator to do some fraction conversion to decimals. So yesterday we kind of talked about this, like a fraction, there are two numbers. So the bottom number is called the denominator. I usually call it bottom number, but the bottom number has a name for it. It's called denominator. And the denominator, or the bottom number, is basically the number of equal parts. Number of equal parts. The top number is called the numerator. It talks about how many parts of that whole thing are you considering, are you taking. So when we look at that fraction, 3/4 here, that's 3 out of 4. Or you can say 3 divided by 4. So that's another way of thinking about that. And we'll talk about the division later. So it says here, a fraction is a ratio of one number to another number. So when we look at the fraction, we can say that the fraction number can be represented as 3/4 or 3/4. But we could also represent that as 3 divided by 4. So a fraction can be thought of a decimal, right? A decimal. So, but to do the decimal, you go 3 divided by 4, and then you're going to get on your calculator 0.75. So when you actually look at your, when you think of 3/4, so when you have 3/4, 3.25 cents, the value of that comes up to $0.75, okay, or 75 cents. So that's. And yesterday we kind of briefly talked about the common fraction that we hear all the time. So a half is 0.5, so that one we know, right? A half, 0.5. A quarter or 1/4, that's 0.25. A third, okay. Now this one here is really a long number. So if you go 1/3 on your calculator, or 1 on your calculator, 1 divided by 3. So let's give that a try. 1 divided by 3. Did you get what? A lot of 3's, right? You're going to start with a 0 decimal and then 3. Now, on your calculator, that's what it's equal to, right? It's called a non-terminating. Non-terminating means it doesn't stop. It's actually going to have a infinity number of 3's. But what happened in here? Why is it 0.33 in here? The decimal, 2 decimal places. What? It got rounded to 2 decimal places. That's why it's like that. Okay? Now let's try this one. Let's try that one. 2/3. 2/3, or 2 divided by 3. So, what number did you get? 0.6. Yeah. So this one, you're going to get 0.6 and a whole bunch of 6, right? Lots. That means it's a non-terminating. Terminating means stop. Right? Terminating means stop. So it's non-terminating decimal. And then what happens in here? Why did it become like that? It was rounded to 2 decimal places, correct? Yeah. So 2 decimal places is here. And then we look at the third one. And because this is a number that is 5 and up, we round up to 67. Not 66, it would be 67. Okay, that good? So here, that's the 2 decimal 2 decimal approximation. Let's take a look at the next page, page 15. Also notice that sometimes a fraction may have a whole number attached to this. So we kind of talked about this yesterday when we were trying to visualize a mixed fraction. A mixed fraction. So what does a mixed fraction mean? It means that you have a whole number and a portion. So whole number and then a little fraction right beside it. So this one here, this is a mixed fraction. A mixed fraction of 6 and 4/5. So 6 and 4/5. The large number, which is a 6, is the whole number, and it stays at 6. And then the fraction part represents the decimal part of a number, which is that. Which means the fraction is 6 and 4/5 can be written as 6.8. So now there's a lot of talking in here. Let's take a look at example 1. We're going to turn to our calculator. Okay, so let's turn to your calculator, and it says here, let's use our calculator to convert the following fractions into decimals. Decimal. So converting means to change it. Converting means to change. You're going to change the fraction into what? Decimals. So if we have to round, we need to round to 2 decimal places, and we're going to keep doing that for like pretty much throughout the course. So remember that the line separating the 2 number is the fraction, is a division symbol. So this is 2 and 1/2. Sorry, 2 1/2. 1/2. So how can we write this down? Here's what we could do. We already know that 2 is your whole number. 2 is your whole number. Now let's figure this part out. What's 1/2? 0.5. So and so 2.5, 0.5. So that comes from the 2 is a 2 here. This one is the 0.5, which is 0.5, so it's 2.5. Is that okay? So 2.5.
Mixed number into the calculator.
Oh, how do you enter that onto your calculator? Okay.
2 plus 1 divided by 2.
Yeah. So 2. Yeah. So what you could do. Okay. Yeah. So if we were to do that on a calculator, so you can go 2 plus 1 divided by 2. So the 2 is at 2. And then the 1/2 would be the 1 divided by 2. So, yeah, go ahead and try that. So 2 plus 1/2. 2 1/2. So Jane and I will be coming. Just raise up your hand. We're going to try and help you out. We're going to try to help you out with your calculator. Come and see.
Rock
So we would get the minus.
Okay, anybody else? Is everybody okay?
Yeah.
Is this your calculator? Okay. I can see that some students are working ahead. Yeah, go ahead and try to work ahead. N means plus 1. Okay, is that good? Anybody else needs to see this? Need the calculator? It works. Okay, awesome. Okay, now I know some people are trying to work ahead, so yeah, go ahead if you want to do that. Okay. Now let's take a look at letter B. Example 1, letter B. 9/12. 9/12. So how can we do that? How do you enter that on a calculator?
9
It's
plus 9 divided 12.
9 divided by 12, right? That's 9 divided by 12. So go ahead and try that.
Equals 0.75.
0.75. Okay? So that's our answer.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody got that one?
Yeah.
Okay, now what about this one? How do we enter this on our calculator?
C, number C.
Letter C. Yeah.
Letter C.
So it's going to be -8/9. So what are we going to do? We can go -8 divided by 9.
Negative
8/9.
8. Negative, this is negative sign.
Negative.
This is negative sign. Negative sign. This one? Yeah. Negative sign. 8. Negative 8 divided by 9.
Yeah, -8 divided by 9. Now, what kind of number did you get? Negative 0.888888. Okay, now this, okay, did everybody get negative 0.8888?
Yes.
Now, in this particular case, because it's more than 2 decimal places, what we're going to do is we're going to round it to just 2 decimal places. So what does it round it off to?
8 and 9.
Okay, so negative 0.89, right? Because you want to do 2 decimal places and then the The third one is 5 and up, so it will round it up to 89 instead of 88. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, now what about this one? Letter D, 18/6. What did you get? So you go 18, you
2 divided
go 18 divided by 6. What did you get? 1.33. 18 divided by 6? Just a 3. Yeah. So 18 divided by 6 is just a 3. Yeah. Just a whole number.
Yeah, I had so many, I have okay with all number, but something might mix fraction.
Okay.
Confusing.
Okay. Yeah.
I
We'll
know
work.
about-
We'll work on that one. Yeah. Okay, now let's try this one. How can we write this on our calculator? How can we enter that on our calculator? 3 plus 2 divided by 8. Okay, so 3 and 2/8. 3.25. Okay, and that's already 2 decimal places, so we don't have to do anything about it. How do you feel about that? Not so bad, right? Okay, good. So now, so in example 1, we are converting. Converting means changing from fraction to decimals. Now let's take a look at question example 2. What does it say? We're going to put the numbers in order from small to big. Smallest to big. So, how can you figure out which one is the smallest and which one is the biggest? So here's what we could do. This is a possibility too. Yeah? Carla? Yeah, so what we could do is we can turn them into decimals first. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's do that. Turn the 6. How about this? We're going to join forces. That group over there, the high table, okay? You're responsible for 6/11ths, okay? You're responsible to converting 6/11ths, okay? That table there.
6.
Okay, don't tell me yet. Yeah. So you've already rounded it. Okay, 0.5. Okay. Is everybody okay? Okay, we're gonna take that answer. And now this group, what's 4/7?
4 divided by 7 equals 0.57. 2 decimals.
0.57.
57.
Okay.
2 decimal digits.
2 decimal points, so 4 divided by 7. 0.57, and then that's already the rounded. Okay, so 0.57. Okay, 0.57. Okay, next table. That group over there at the front. Do you have something, Isabel?
I got 0.3.
0.3. Okay, 0.3. Now we're gonna, this is a funny one because, right, it's gonna be 0.3. And then if we want to write it into 2 decimal places, what can we do? We can put a 0 at the end. Okay, so 0.330, the same thing. Yeah, very nice, thank you. And then last but not the least, that group up there. 3.4, okay. So that's 3.4. Again, it's 1 decimal place, but if we change it into 2 decimal place, that would be 3.40. Okay, now that we have this, we are now going to figure out which one is the smallest, which one's the biggest. Which one do you think is the smallest here? 0.30, right? So the smallest is this one, so that's the 3/10. Okay, so that's that one. What's the next? Okay, this one would be the 0.555, so 6/11. What's the next one? 4/7. And then the last one would be the 3 2/5. Is that okay? So this is from smallest to biggest. Now, if you're thinking about this and you're like thinking, I'm not sure which one is bigger, which one is smaller, now that we've changed it into 2 decimal places, everybody are very comfortable with numbers, right? So this one is 0.55, which would be 55 cents. This is 57 cents. So which one is bigger, 55 or 57 cents? 57, okay? This one is 30 cents. And then this one is $3.40. So that makes sense. Oh, wow, makes sense to do that. Now, let's do example 3. Here's what we could do. Now, we could do it in 2, maybe various ways. Various ways means different ways. A possibility that I'm thinking about is changing everything into decimal and then from there calculating it. That might take a long time because you're going to do multiple conversions, right? Now, getting to know your calculator. When you look at your calculator, do you have this key or button? Fraction button? Sometimes I've seen a calculator have this. Do you have that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. You could use that, or if you don't have that, it's not the end of the world. We could just do it regularly. Okay? So, here's what we're gonna do. We could use that. We could show you how to do that later, but it's, see if we could do this piece. How can we enter this? Now, before I begin, what does that say? Is this a mixed number? Okay, so this is 4 minus 2/5. This is not a mixed number because you have a minus in between. Okay, so there's a minus in between. So, how can we do this? You're going to take this number and you're going to take away all of these. So what you could do is you could go 4, take away 2 divided by 5. Okay? 4 subtract 2/5 would be what? 3.6. Okay, is everybody okay? 3.6. It's gonna be 4. Take away 2/5. So take away 2 divided by 5. So it's 3.6.
Okay, and that is D.
Now let's see. Oh, Jane has this. our calculator has this button, right? I see this part. So let's see if we could try that. 4 take away. Okay. Can you see this type of calculator is slightly different, right? So it's starting to blink on the numerator. So we're gonna put in 2. And then the denominator, we're gonna put 5. Let's see what kind of number we get. 3.6. Okay, so some calculators can do that. If your calculator can do that, great. If your calculator can't do that, it's still scientific, so it's still good.
We got 6. 2 divided by 5. 2.
Yeah.
So then we don't have to.
Right.
Okay, now this one is. We have to go. Do this first, right? Do 2.
This is the right answer. It's that the number is mixed.
2. Yes, down here. Let me check, figure this out on this calculator. Because I can't, this is the fraction, right? And then your answer is 3. It's like a mixed fraction, right? So 3.6. Your calculator is showing us this answer, 3 and 3/5, which is 3.6. This is in a fraction. So it's correct. You couldn't get it to a decimal. Just do that. Yeah. So did you figure it out? 2? Oh, you're doing a different one. Okay, let's try the next one. So it's just a matter of getting used to your calculator. Let's try this one. How can we do this? We got 2 fractions and then this fraction. Now I want to tell my calculator that when I calculate this, I want to add all of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bracket there. Okay, I want to tell my calculator that this is going to be a mixed fraction, right? So how do we type this in onto your calculator? 3 divided by 5 plus brackets 2 2 and 1/2, so 2 plus 1 divided by 2.
Okay, there's another fractions for dividing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on for a second. What did you get for that one? 3.1. Did everybody raise up your hand if you didn't get 3.1? So if you're having an issue with your calculator, just raise up your hand and I'll get to you. Yeah, that's right. So you go 3, 3. So 3, yes, plus 2, 3. So we want to make sure that them together. Brackets 2 plus 1. Okay, now you're getting 3/10, which is, here, you can just do SB, that changes into decimal. So your SB changes into decimals.
So how can something convert? Which one is converted about?
Converting SB.
See?
Changes to decimal. Yeah. Okay? Did we get to everybody? Everybody got 3.1? Yeah? Okay. Let's finish off the last 2. Oh, sorry, last 3. How did we do the last 3 in here? 1/5. So you go 1 divided by 2 times 10. 1 divided by 2 times 10. And what did you get for that one? That was 5. Everybody got 5? Oh, oops, sorry. It's supposed to be 5. It's supposed to be 2. There you go. Thank you. There we go, much better. I changed your...
Used to poke off the brain cell.
Now, I think I'm already thinking about the answer. I do that all the time. Sorry to confuse you. Okay, what about this one? 1 divided by 1/5. Or sorry, 1. 12 divided by 1/5.
We need some serious coffee.
I do. 12 divided by 1/5. So 12 divided by brackets 1/5. There. Much better. Did you get 60? Yes? Okay. Woo, got that one right. Last but not the least, what can we do in here? Okay, I want to make sure that 5 and 1/2 is together. So I want to make sure I put that in the brackets minus all of that in the brackets. So how do we put that in our calculator? 5 and 1/2. Okay, so brackets 5 and 1/2 minus because there's a minus there. Okay, yeah. And then the other one is 3 and 1/4. So 3 plus 1 just divided by 4. Thank you. Okay, so brackets 3 plus 1 divided by 4. That the answer? Is it 2.25? Five and 1 divided by 2 minus 3 plus 1 divided by 4. What did you get? 3 point? 2 point? I got 2.225?
Yeah.
The second one. 2.25. Let's give that a try again. So 5 and 1/2. Try that. Let's try this. So 5 and 1. What's with all the brackets?
All the brackets.
Yeah. Okay. So here, what we're saying is 5 and 1/2. Our calculator could only perform operations so that we want to make sure that this, when we enter this on our calculator, it's actually going to be a mixed fraction. So we want to make sure that this is in the brackets because they're a mixed fraction, they're together, right? And then this one here is a mixed fraction and then they're together. So when we type this in onto our calculator, 5 and a half, let's do that. 5 and a half is 5.5, correct? Yeah? And then minus 3 and a quarter is 3.25, yes? Yeah. So once you have that, you go 5.5 minus 3.25. So you're going to get 2.25. So it's important for this one to keep the fractions, the mixed number together. And to do that, we can put that inside the brackets. Okay?
My question is,
Yes.
when there is no sign of bracket, and it is not that you make it is,
Yeah, you just put it there.
you put it.
Yeah. Yeah, because this one here, they didn't have a bracket, right, to begin with. And then I would just want to say, I want to make sure that the calculator understand that they are a mixed fraction. They're together. Okay, awesome.
Like a 5. Can you write 1.5? Like a 12 divide.
Do you want to see your page?
Oh, you want to see my paper? This
paper.
paper? That paper?
Okay, this is bracket 5. Okay, this is bracket 5.
Okay, so I think what we're gonna do, okay, for this evening, and I hope you have time to work on this one. The ones that we're gonna work on for now are these. Questions 1, 2, and 3. That's your homework. That's your 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so those ones, please give those questions a try.